Jon Stewart, the man who changed the way America views news and politics. From an unknown comedian to the powerful host of The Daily Show, he not only brought laughter, but also made the media wary. But behind the spotlight, what challenges did Stewart face? What did he do after leaving the legendary show? Let's explore Jon Stewart's ups and downs in this video. Childhood and early life. Jon Stewart, born Jonathan Stewart Leibowitz, was born on November 28, 1962, in New York, USA, to a family of Jewish descent. His father, Donald Leibowitz, was a high school physics teacher, while his mother, Marion Laskin, worked as an education specialist and later became an education consultant for the New York Board of Education. Although born into a family with a good academic background, Stewart's childhood was not smooth. When he was 9 years old, his parents divorced, which had a profound impact on his psychology. His father remarried and started a new life, while Stewart and his brother lived mainly with their mother. After the divorce, the relationship between Stewart and his father became strained, to the point that he had little contact with his father during his adult years. As a result, when he began his career, he decided to drop the Leibowitz surname and chose Stewart as his stage name, partly to establish his own identity and to avoid any connection with his father. Later, in some interviews, Stewart rarely mentioned his father and avoided talking about this period, although he occasionally joked about growing up in a dysfunctional family. Stewart attended Lawrence High School in New Jersey. Here, he quickly showed his humorous, intelligent, but somewhat rebellious personality. He often teased his friends and teachers with sarcastic but sharp comments. This was also the time when Stewart realized that humor could help him cope with the pressures of life. He realized that he was not interested in this field. He then switched to psychology and graduated with a BA in psychology. Despite his degree in psychology, Stewart never pursued a career in the field. Instead, his college years were when he began to explore his passion for the performing arts. He played on the school football team and worked a variety of part-time jobs to make ends meet, including bartending and manual labor. While working at the bars, he began to develop his sense of humor by poking fun at customers, co-workers, and telling satirical stories about life. This inadvertently became an important foundation for his later career in comedy and television hosting. Entering the entertainment industry. After graduating from college, Jon Stewart did not pursue a degree in psychology, but spent several years working various jobs to make a living. He worked as a construction worker, an administrative officer, and a salesman for the City University of New York. However, none of these jobs gave him true passion. In 1986, Stewart decided to move to New York to pursue a comedy career. This was a big turning point, marking the thorny beginning of his journey to become one of the best political satirists in America. In his early years in New York, Stewart struggled to find opportunities in the entertainment industry. To make a living, he worked many temporary jobs such as bartending at the famous comedy club The Bitter End, where many famous comedians had performed. While working as a bartender there, Stewart not only earned money, but also had the opportunity to observe professional comedians perform, learn how to tell stories, and interact with audiences. However, getting on stage was a big challenge. Stewart's first stand-up performances were not very successful. He was often booed, interrupted, and even refused to perform at many clubs. There were times when he felt discouraged and thought about giving up, but his perseverance and sharp sense of humor kept him going. Gradually, he found his style, a light-hearted but biting satire that used sharp wit instead of vulgar jokes. In 1989, after years of performing in small clubs, Stewart was allowed to participate in the television show Short Attention Span Theater on Comedy Central, where he co-hosted with Patricia Heaton. This was an important breakthrough that brought him to a wider public. The show analyzed commented on, and mocked other television shows in a fast-paced, humorous, and satirical style, a style that suited Stewart perfectly. While short attention span theater wasn't a huge hit, it laid a solid foundation for Stewart's professional entrance into the entertainment industry. Television producers began to take notice, and his career began to take off. This was just the beginning. Over the next few years, Jon Stewart would continue to climb the entertainment ladder, establishing himself as one of the most recognizable faces on American television. The golden age of The Daily Show. In 1919, Jon Stewart officially replaced Craig Kilborn as host of The Daily Show on Comedy Central. Before that, the show was mainly a light-hearted comedy, satirizing quirky news or entertainment events. However, when Stewart took over, he completely redefined the show's content, turning it into a sharp political commentary program, satirizing current events profoundly but also humorously. With his intelligent, quick-witted style and engaging hosting style, Stewart took The Daily Show to new heights, becoming one of the most influential political satire programs in the US. He did not hesitate to criticize hot social issues, from government policies and the media to injustices in the political system. This helped the show become a reliable alternative news source for many young viewers. During his 16-year tenure as host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart created many memorable moments that were not only entertaining, but also had a great impact on society. Here are some of the highlights. After the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, most entertainment shows were suspended. When The Daily Show returned, instead of opening with the usual jokes, Stewart gave an emotional speech. He expressed his pain and anger, but also called for unity among the American people. He criticized the way the media exploited the tragedy for sensationalism and condemned the extreme political reactions after the attack. In 2004, Jon Stewart was invited to be a guest on CNN's Crossfire, a popular political debate show at the time. Instead of participating in the debate as expected, Stewart was outspoken in his criticism of the show, accusing it of being a political stunt rather than a forum for real debate. He directly criticized Tucker Carlson, one of the two hosts, and said, "You are not doing this country any favors. This show is a farce." Stewart's criticism received widespread support from the public. Less than a year later, CNN canceled Crossfire, partly due to the impact of this confrontation. Jon Stewart did not just satirize one side of the political spectrum, but criticized all presidents, from George W. Bush and Barack Obama to Donald Trump. During the Bush administration, he repeatedly criticized the war in Iraq and the administration's controversial policies. When Obama took office, Stewart did not hesitate to point out mistakes in economic and health policies. During the Trump era, he continued to speak out against the former president's shocking statements and divisive policies. Stewart's objectivity and impartiality have made him one of the most respected hosts in American media. Over the past 16 years, as host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart has helped make the show a cultural phenomenon. He has won 22 Emmy Awards, making The Daily Show one of the most honored shows on American television. In addition, the show has received a Peabody Award, one of the most prestigious awards in television. More than just a comedian and host, Jon Stewart is considered one of America's most influential political commentators, who has changed the way the public consumes news through a humorous yet insightful lens. Jon Stewart's influence and legacy. Throughout his career, Jon Stewart has become more than just a comedian. He has also become a sharp political commentator who has had a strong influence on the American public. With The Daily Show, he has completely changed the way audiences access news and understand political events. Going beyond satire, Stewart raises important questions about ethics, media responsibility, and politicians, forcing the public to think more deeply about what is going on. Many people consider The Daily Show under Jon Stewart to be a more trusted source of news than the mainstream media. A 2007 Pew Research study found that viewers of The Daily Show and The Colbert Report were more politically literate than viewers of traditional news channels such as CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC. This proves that Stewart not only entertains, but also educates the public about politics engagingly and effectively. Jon Stewart not only found success with The Daily Show, but also paved the way for a new generation of political comedians who continue to use comedy to criticize and analyze social issues. Some prominent hosts who are considered students of Jon Stewart include Stephen Colbert. He was a correspondent on The Daily Show, later hosted The Colbert Report, 2005-2014, and is currently the host of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Colbert inherited Stewart's sharp political satire, but with his color, especially playing a fictional conservative character to satirize the American political world. John Oliver, one of the prominent comedians who appeared on The Daily Show, then became the host of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Oliver is famous for his long but humorous and profound analyses of issues such as the economy, foreign policy, and American society. Hasan Minhaj, an Indian-American correspondent for The Daily Show, who later hosted Patriot Act with Hasan Minhaj, where he discussed politics and culture from an immigrant perspective. Trevor Noah, Jon Stewart's successor at The Daily Show from 2015 to 2022. Noah ultimately brought an international perspective to the show, exploring American political topics from the lens of growing up in apartheid South Africa. Stewart not only inspired them, but also created an environment for these political comedians to thrive, helping political satire become a vital part of the American media ecosystem. Despite being a comedian, Jon Stewart has never stopped at political satire. He has taken action to promote social change. Some of the notable campaigns that Stewart has been actively involved in include: Stewart has spent many years fighting for the rights of American veterans. He has repeatedly used The Daily Show to criticize the government's treatment of discharged service members, especially the lack of medical and mental health support. He has also campaigned vigorously for better policies to support those who have served in the military. One of Jon Stewart's most important campaigns has been to fight for the rights of the rescue workers and firefighters who worked at Ground Zero after the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. Many of them suffered serious illnesses from inhaling toxic fumes, but the U.S. government delayed providing medical assistance to them. Stewart visited the U.S. Congress many times, directly lobbying politicians to pass the Zadroga Act, which provided medical funds for those affected by the 9/11 attacks. He also used his show to pressure public opinion, forcing lawmakers to act instead of ignoring the problem. Thanks to the efforts of Stewart and other activists, the act was finally renewed in 2015, helping thousands of rescue workers receive necessary medical support. Although he left The Daily Show in 2015, Jon Stewart still has a huge legacy in the American media and politics. He is not only a talented host, but also a strong voice for fairness and responsibility in politics, someone who always uses laughter to shine a light on the truth. Not everyone agrees with Stewart's views, but even his detractors admit that he has changed the way the public consumes news and understands politics. In an age where news is increasingly chaotic and biased, Jon Stewart's wit, humor, and sharp wit remain an irreplaceable icon. But despite being one of America's most beloved hosts, Jon Stewart has not been immune to controversy and criticism throughout his career. Controversies and Challenges. Under Jon Stewart's leadership, The Daily Show quickly became a highly influential program in the media and political world. However, his style of combining comedy with political news has also brought criticism from many sides. Conservative news channels such as Fox News and some right-wing politicians have often criticized Jon Stewart for his attacks on Republicans while being soft on Democrats. Some have accused him of biased reporting in favor of liberals, making The Daily Show a political propaganda tool rather than a stand-up comedy show. Despite being accused of being biased toward the left, Stewart has also been a strong critic of the Barack Obama administration and Democratic politicians. This has upset some in the liberal community, who expected Stewart to focus more on attacking conservative politicians. In the face of accusations of bias, Jon Stewart has always maintained that his goal is not to support or oppose any part, but to criticize the absurdities of the American political system. He once said, "If you think I'm biased, you're probably just angry because I'm telling the truth about what's going on." He also emphasized that his show is not a mainstream newscast, but a satirical comedy show that uses the news to ask important questions that the mainstream media often avoids. As a highly influential person, Jon Stewart's statements on the show have often caused controversy. Some typical examples include Jon Stewart, one of the strongest critics of Fox News, often calling the channel a propaganda tool rather than a true news organization. He has repeatedly debated Fox News hosts such as Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity. One of his most memorable statements about Fox News is, "If you watch Fox News for the truth, you're in a parallel universe." However, some people think that Stewart focuses too much on attacking Fox News, while he doesn't mention the flaws of other media outlets as much. In 2004, Jon Stewart appeared on CNN's Crossfire, where he harshly criticized the program's political coverage and debate. He called Crossfire a political theater program rather than a serious forum for debate, and directly criticized the hosts Tucker Carlson and Paul Begala for contributing to the decline of political journalism in the United States. The most memorable moment of the confrontation was when Stewart looked Tucker Carlson in the face and said, "You're not journalists, you're corrupting journalism." This confrontation is said to have contributed to the CNN canceling Crossfire in 2005. Although often labeled as liberal, Jon Stewart has not hesitated to criticize both Democrats and Republicans when they push controversial policies. He once called the U.S. Congress a political circus, where politicians care more about their interests than the interests of the people. After more than 16 years as host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart suddenly announced that he would be leaving the show in 2015. This was shocking news for millions of fans, as many had looked to Stewart as a compass for understanding American politics and media. Stewart's main reason for this decision was that he felt exhausted after more than a decade of non-stop work. He wanted to spend more time with his family and try his hand at other projects. He also felt that The Daily Show needed a breath of fresh air and believed that his successor, Trevor Noah, would bring the necessary change. Jon Stewart's final broadcast on The Daily Show took place on August 6, 2015, with many special guests, including former correspondents of the show such as John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, Samantha Bee, Steve Carell, and many others. In his farewell speech, Stewart sent a profound message to the audience. Don't let yourself be fooled. The bad never comes in a big way. It creeps into every corner, every dark corner of life. Stay alert, and don't let those in power control your truth. After leaving the show, Stewart spent a lot of time with his family, worked on several documentary projects, and continued to speak out about social issues he cared about, especially the rights of veterans and those affected by 9/11. But what has his life been like since The Daily Show? Has it been better and more peaceful, or is it a glorious regret? Life after The Daily Show. After leaving The Daily Show in 2015, Jon Stewart entered a new phase of his life, appearing less on television, but still maintaining his stance and influence. He tried his hand at new media projects, devoted more time to charity work, and continued to speak out on important political and social issues. After many years of absence, Jon Stewart officially returned to television in 2021 with The Problem with Jon Stewart, a political talk show airing on the Apple TV Plus platform. The show is expected to continue the satirical comedy style combined with sharp analysis that Stewart did so well on The Daily Show. Unlike The Daily Show, The Problem with Jon Stewart focuses on a specific topic in each episode, such as racial justice, veterans' rights, economic policy, climate change, and more. The show features in-depth interviews with experts, politicians, and insiders, rather than simply being a satirical comedy show about the daily news. Despite being well received by Stewart's loyal fans, The Problem with Jon Stewart has not achieved the same level of popularity as The Daily Show. There are several reasons for this. Apple TV Plus is a platform with a limited user base, unable to match the influence of cable TV like Comedy Central or HBO. Furthermore, the style of the show is too serious and less humorous than expected. Many people expect a humorous, biting Jon Stewart like before, but The Problem is more serious, delving into issues rather than being sarcastic. At the same time, the change in the media landscape, in the era of social networks and online news, audiences have more choices, and political analysis programs are no longer as attractive as before. After 2 seasons on the air, Jon Stewart suddenly left Apple TV Plus in 2023 due to disagreements with the board of directors about the program's content. According to sources, Apple is said to not want Stewart to discuss too much about sensitive topics such as China and artificial intelligence, while Stewart does not want to be controlled by the content. Therefore, he decided to withdraw from the project instead of having to compromise with Apple. Although not a huge success, The Problem with Jon Stewart is still highly appreciated for the quality of its content and shows that Stewart is still an important voice in the American media industry. After leaving full-time television, Jon Stewart devoted much of his time to charitable causes, especially helping veterans and those affected by the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Stewart has always been a strong advocate for American veterans, especially those affected by illnesses caused by exposure to toxic substances during their military service. He has repeatedly lobbied the U.S. Congress to pass legislation to support veterans. One of the most notable moments came in 2019 when Stewart appeared before Congress to criticize the U.S. government for not providing adequate medical support to firefighters and rescue workers on 9/11. He said emotionally, "These people fought for our country, but when they needed help, we turned a blind eye. The U.S. Congress cannot continue to ignore them." This speech created a lot of pressure, contributing to Congress passing a permanent funding bill for those affected by 9/11. In addition to his advocacy work, Jon Stewart also directly supports veterans through his agricultural projects. He and his wife, Tracy Stewart, bought a farm in New Jersey where they provide opportunities for veterans to participate in farm work as a way to heal and reintegrate into their lives. Jon Stewart and his wife are also active in the field of animal protection. They turned their farm into an animal rescue center, helping abandoned or abused animals. Although he no longer appears on television every day, Jon Stewart remains an important voice on social and political issues. He regularly appears on talk shows or podcasts to comment on the situation in the United States. He has appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, where he has criticized Donald Trump's political policies and issues in the American media. He has also participated in many political podcasts, where he has discussed in-depth issues that interest him, such as social inequality, the healthcare system, workers' rights, etc. Although he still has a great influence, Stewart no longer participates in long-term media projects as before, choosing to appear at important moments. Do you think Jon Stewart will return to another platform, maybe Netflix or HBO, with a show that bears his mark? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you in the next videos.